We are so honored and pleased to have this exhibition here. And I do believe, even though Dave's work has been seen in many places, I do believe that this is his first one-person show. And a friend of mine, several friends of mine, had talked to me about Dave for a long time, and then they said, well, how about if he submits a piece to the silent auction? And that was last year. It was a piece that just knocked us off our feet, and I don't think I'm divulging any secrets. It was also bought by one of the curators at the Little Museum for our own private collection. Next thing was, I was invited, my daughter and I were invited to see a stone wall that he had built. Because the people were going to move away, but the bonus was there. Not only was the stone wall gorgeous, but Dave happened to have a studio there in that house. And he happened to be present. So that was one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had, to see his studio and to talk to Dave. Of course, we all know how modest he is about talking about his own work. It is the work itself that is so incredibly eloquent. And that's really what matters. After that visit, I started going after him. So please submit work to our exhibition committee. And I don't know how many times I had to do that, probably half a dozen times, maybe more. But eventually you did, but in the meantime you submitted works to our annual juried summer exhibition. And last year we had more submissions to that exhibition than ever. And you were one of the few artists who got the recognition award for the work that was selected to the exhibitions. So finally then you submitted work for our exhibition committee to look at. And it didn't take long for members of our committee to knock on the door and go on a studio visit. And the rest is history. We are just so honored to have work of this caliber exhibited here. And I want to thank not only Dave, but many of you friends who have worked together, and you know who you are, who have worked to get this exhibition together and encouraged Dave to make such a tremendous commitment to his art. We are all the better for it. So Dave, now it's up to you. The work speaks for itself, but we would like to have a few, have you say a few words, and I'm sure there will be many questions as well. So thank you for making this extraordinary experience available to us.
Thanks for coming. I'm pretty nervous. I thought I would just talk about the work. And if anybody has any questions, they can ask after I finish talking about a particular piece. This piece is called Father and Son, and it's actually a piece I carved by hand, I think in 1996. I had an idea for a piece of artwork that never happened, so I just have had this kicking around. And this piece I finished, was one of the last pieces that I finished. I picked up the board from a friend from a salvage yard, and of course it has the beautiful blue paint. I actually had it sitting in my shop and just happened to set the hand up next to it. And something seemed to work about it, so I felt I had to figure out what else to put with it. And this bird was carved by my dad, probably 10, 15 years ago, and he's always loved carvings and had a little time on his hands, and so he decided to carve that, and he stopped carving it. It's not finished, and I could see my dad in that carving. And it kind of inspired me to keep working. So I made this piece, and that's why it's called Father and Son. This piece, it's called Early Separation. This board came from another friend of mine who builds church organs, and this was from a church organ that was dismantled, and it was just sitting in the shop, and the board initially was twice as big as this, and it was part of the bellows, which you know, from a pump organ, so this had leather on it. And I don't know if the feet created all this distress, but when I saw it in the shop, I asked him about it, and he gave it to me. And the other half, he'd already burned in his fire. So I was happy to have it, and this was also one of the later things that I made. I knew it was a special piece of wood, and I found this, I had this kicking around, this portrait of these people. And again, I just sat, it was just laying next to it. It just seemed to work together, so I created this little theme. I've had this hat for probably 15, 20 years, and created a little story, I guess. Wasn't particularly trying to say anything, but I think what I'm trying to do with something like this is just create a story of possibilities that you can depict your own story. This hook here, I think I found in an old cellar hole digging around. So this is one of my favorites. This piece is called The Great Escape, and this the guy here came from an old bank, a part of a mechanical bank, and I found this box in the attic of an old house that was about to be torn down. I'm not sure what the box was for. It had wheels on the bottom, and somebody made it for a specific purpose, but it intrigued me enough to keep. Seemed like it went together. I tried to do something with it quite a few years ago, but just didn't, until recently I didn't know how to put things together. And if I did, I wasn't sure if it was good or not. These parts inside are part of an old clock that I found in an old dump. And if you look closely, they're melted, and the house obviously burned down, and then the contents of the house were thrown open this bank, and this is where I had it. So I guess it's, and these pieces came off from my house. I bought an old house in White River. This is part of the lattice work, the frame, and I have a bunch of that, so I think it worked pretty Ford is something that you can get at Home Depot or wherever. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
You said until recently you didn't know how to put this together. Why did you say that?
Well, I'm not sure. Just I hadn't been able to work for quite a few years. Just been earning money doing stonework. But I felt that I'd still developed as an artist, and so it was exciting for me. I mean, most of this stuff, well, everything from here over I did in 2 months. And for some reason, things just clicked for me. And just, things went together very easily for me. And it was pretty exciting.
So was it then the opportunity that you allowed yourself to find time, basically?
Yeah, it might have been the 2 months. It was, I had a great time, just waking up every morning and knowing I was just going to the shop and putting things together. And I think the most exciting thing for me is coming up with an idea the night before, going in and putting something together, and something that I'm happy with.
Dave,
So.
do they tend to resolve themselves fairly quickly, or do you rework them? Like the one you're standing next to, did you know where you wanted to place that ball?
This one?
Right. Did you feel it?
Yeah, I mean, I would hang it up, and this one, I was pretty sure it was going to go there. I don't know why. Maybe because it's so simple. This piece, I mean, this is part of an old block which came with a set, probably 1850 or so, and this board came out of an old house, and it was actually that size. So hardly any cutting at all, and I had this pink board that seemed to just work perfectly, and this is one of my favorites. As simple as it is, just works.
Dave, one thing I like is that you obviously collect a lot of things and go in there and pick here and there.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're always scavenging around going to places and things that you like, you pick up and take and put it. You must have a lot of things to pick from.
Yeah, we call it the back rack. But especially after these 2 months, I'm really interested in seeing what I drag home. I'm a little scared, but I'm excited too, just because I'm seeing the potential in so many different things. I actually went down by the Ottaquechee River in Woodstock after the flood, and there was an old pedal car, probably from the 30s, and I left it there just because it didn't have any value. And after I put this stuff together, I got thinking about it. Why didn't I grab that? And I went back, and the place had been flat, bulldozed. So I was pretty kicking myself for that. But yeah.
I'm wondering about the whiskey bottle.
The whiskey bottle. That I just got at a flea market. And I bought it at a flea market. Yeah. Kind of collect bottles too, so that one caught my eye.
And it became potentially part of a kind of history.
Yeah, I tried quite a few different items there, but it was interesting because I didn't want it to be a forced story. You know, I wanted you to be able to look at that and come up with your own. I mean, the title kind of pushes you one way, but I mean, the hook, to me, the hook may have suggested that there was another hat there. So, leave it up to you. This is another simple piece. And I thought it was like from a fair, like a bean toss. And I didn't really do anything to it. And I had this ball kicking around, and just the colors seemed to go so well together. And then it became a question of how to suspend the ball in that space. So I went up and rummaged around in all my stuff and brought down a number of things. Maybe it comes from the back so you don't see it. And this is part of an old buck saw, which I initially was thinking would go behind it. But then the question is, do I hide it, or do I make it part of the piece? And it looks like it went together. It looks like it's been together forever. I mean, that's another simple piece, and doesn't particularly mean anything. But there it is. This piece was kind of a breakthrough piece for me. I had this hand when I first started doing stonework, probably 18 years ago, and I was working with my brother-in-law taking down this old stone wall, and found his hand, which is just a garden rake that got bent, and somebody threw it behind the stone wall. And for some reason I kept it. I mean, I didn't know I was going to build something with it. So 18 years later, whatever, it's now a piece of artwork. And what's important about this piece is I put it together, I had this board around. I decided I was going to have this hand sticking out of it, and I had this piece of tin. At this point, I was just laying things on the floor. I had a number of things, but I was trying to decide where to cut it, believe it or not. And my friend Margaret Matthews stopped by, and I explained to her that I was trying to decide where to cut it, and she said, "Why? It's so important up here. All the paper and the nails." And when she said that to me, I already made the decision to cut it. And it was a little uncomfortable for me, because I knew she was right. And I don't know if you know Marge, but she's a wonderful poet. And what occurred to me is this is the poetry up there. And what would this look like without that? So, thank you for helping. But it made me question a lot of things. So it was kind of one of the many important steps. I mean, each one of these things is an experiment for me, and education, really. So.
Is that a leather strap?
Yeah, that's something I had kicking around, and it was part of probably a horse tack or some kind of a belt. And so, like I said, I started with this board, and I knew I wanted to put it in a box that kind of came out from the wall, and also too, it accept this, the hand. And I went to my friend Dave Firm's house and took this board, I think without him knowing, and it made it look like it was together forever. So it's again just one of those things that just kind of went together for whatever reason.
The bill tells me why you had to keep that thing at the top.
Yeah?
That's the head.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious to know if you have sort of one sort of tried and true way of putting these things together. Do you paint them? Do you nail them? Do you screw them? Do you glue them?
Also, this is kind of why I was so pleased with my show. I've just been exposed to so many different things where I just know how to put things together at this point. Like the guy I mentioned, David Moore, who builds the organs. I worked for him for a while. I do carvings for him for the church organs, and he's an old Vermonter, and if something breaks, you fix it. It doesn't matter if it's metal or anything, and that's what I learned mostly from him. It's just you can build anything. Also, I worked for Charlie Shackleton years ago, so I was exposed to machines and hand tools, and was interested in all that. So it just became what I'm good at.
So are you using a glue to put these things in?
I use a lot of epoxy, which is what I made the spaghetti out of on that fork. So yeah, glue or epoxy. Yeah.
I have a question about the piece on the end,
Yeah.
which I adore. I love that piece so much. When I saw it in your studio, it had this heart key on it, and I just wondered if you chose not to include it because visually you didn't want it there, or if you thought that it kind of changed the meaning of it some way.
To be honest with you, you know Prigozhin.
Yeah.
I really love his work, and he does a lot of stuff with keys and all that stuff. So my own insecurities probably, I didn't want to seem like I was ripping him off. I mean, and I also, at that point, was just trying to keep things simple and not trying to force the story. But it was good. This piece is called How the West Was Won, and I chose the title just because of the leather and because I've worn American flag. This piece, the leather came from an old belt from like a water-powered mill or something that was that wide, and I got it at an antique shop. It's probably 16 feet long, and I saw it there a few months before I bought before I went back and purchased the item. But you know, it was on my mind a lot, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But you know, it was $45, and I mean, to buy any kind of an art material for $45 is quite a bargain, I thought. So So I bought the belt, and this came to me, and I made it started making it the next day. I cut the strips with my table saw, and I made a punch for the stars out of razor blades, and then I actually sanded the backs of these so they're recessed, so that you could actually at one point pull them out, and I sanded them and glued them back in. The stripes, I guess this would be the white. Is that right? I hand planed those down to make them thinner, and just so it added contrast. And so I hope I don't embarrass my dad with this story, but I had finished this, and I had it hanging up in kind of a dark place in my shop, and he came in and says, "What have you been doing?" I said, "Well, I just made that flag." And he looked up at it for 2 seconds and said, "Is it finished?" And I got a kick out of that. And he said, "Well, what does it mean?" And I said, "It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means I'm not trying to make a statement. I'm just trying to make something interesting." And again, with possibility of stories, or, you know, I put, it didn't look like this, the leather. I put masking tape on it and pulled the masking tape off. And that kind of created a weathered, worn look. So it looks like it's been around for a while, I guess. And this piece was interesting, the way it developed. I started this piece. It was probably the first piece I started when I got to work here, and I knew I had all the space, so I felt like I had to make some bigger things. And a lot of times I'll have just an object, which obviously was this car, and I've had it around for a long time, and I've always wanted to do something with it, and I thought I could make just a big orange frame, the same color as the car, and that would be the piece. And I started making it, and painted it orange, and it just didn't say anything. It was too much orange. So I have all these old tabloids, and some of them were, this is fairly suggestive and sexy, and some of the other ones were worse than that. I mean, and some of them were all Frank Sinatra. So I chose the ones in the middle, and they just actually happened to fit on the frame. I had to make the frame a little bit bigger. So the idea was that I put these on here. I had maybe 4 more than what you see here. So I didn't have a whole lot to choose from. And the idea was that I paint over it, and that you can't read it, but you can see that there's something back there. There's some kind of something going on than just the orange paint. And again, the orange was just too much, so I started sanding it, which of course brought out everything that's said on these tabloids, which kind of changed everything. It's like I was trying to say something about what these things say. And it made the car less relevant. So I decided to put the number on the car. And I actually at one point was thinking, because now it seemed like I was making a statement about everything that was said here, that maybe I would cut it down, which would make just these things that much more important. So it was a question of now what I wanted to bring to this, and does it say something about me, and do I have the courage to put this up here? So I decided these tabloids are from 1968, and I decided to call the piece 1969. And that way it's, if you see it from far away and the number has a significance to you, that's your own deal. And and I added this piece, the last thing, just to as like a construction piece to bring the car back into it. At one point, I was thinking of calling this Steve McQueen, to just take the subject matter and make it playful, but people seem to really like this, whatever reason. So this piece was one of the first pieces that I started making, and I had the idea. I built the frame, had a little flag in there, but it was a question of, this is too easy. And what is art? I mean, does it have to be something that you spend a lot of time making? Again, maybe I'm trying to say something about our country, or maybe this is our country and this is the surrounding world, the darkness. A lot of this wear and stuff was how the board came. This is a new piece of material that came from Home Depot, but it happened to have all this stuff, and I cut this piece out for whatever reason, just for balance, and added this little tag, which probably came off from an old machine. But what's interesting about this is I was in here like a week ago, and the Valley News did an article on me, I don't know if you know, but the photographer was in here taking pictures, and a class of students came through, and they were probably 5 or 6 years old. And the day before, I guess they had been in here drawing pictures of my work, which I thought was really interesting. And the photographer saw them come through and heard the story that they were drawing my work, and he said, can we go take a picture of some of their work? So we went and found them, and there was this little girl, and out of all the colorful things here, this is what she drew a picture of. And I looked at it, and she had cut out this little piece here, which I don't know what the significance is, but she picked it out, and it's kind of amazing. So this piece, this came off from an old trunk that I bought, and it was actually full of tools. And the trunk, I usually don't like to destroy things, but the trunk was just, it was too big and the color was just too amazing, and it seemed more important to put it on the wall than have it down on the floor. So I made these hammers. These are basswood, and here was where there was handles where you could pick up the trunk. So maybe no more than covering up those areas was why I chose to put this. This is tin, tobacco tins. So this piece is another simple piece, but I really like. This is one of my favorites. This is a carnival prize. I think it's a Lone Ranger, probably from the 40s. This old posted sign I actually found a metal detector out in the woods, and somebody had shot it with a shotgun, and just seemed to go together. It is. This piece, these guys here, is actually this one guy that was part of an old bowling game, a tin bowling game, which all I had to do was separate it and fold them out. And I had this sign that said "Look both ways" that I wanted to do something with. And this piece, I think, was from an old car, maybe, or some kind of a screen that had found that in an old house. Again, one of my favorite pieces. These are printer's blocks. I don't know if they were for photography, or for making photographs, or for newspaper. But I got those at a flea market, and with that exact number and these little guns, I think are just dime store things that I picked up like probably 20 of, and I just happened to have the one knife. So just to make it interesting, I added the knife and chose what I thought was the face least likely to have done something with that knife, and again, one of my favorite pieces. Yeah, this piece, this is something I found in an old dump next to an old house. I don't know if you guys are aware, but you can, pretty much any old house in New England where there's a bank, there's usually a dump next to it. So you can find pretty neat stuff. So I had found this piece, and this girl, I guess I was kind of infatuated with that girl, just seemed to fit in there, and I thought I was just going to be able to put her inside this iron, and that would be done. But I finished it, hung it on the wall, and it just needed more, so I added this. That's called gearing up. So I guess that was self-explanatory. And this piece, obviously that's a Quaker Oat box that I picked up at a flea market, and it had shells in it. I think there was a date on the top from around 1940, and somebody put the label right over his face, and I had this thing kicking around, and and this particular was Quaker Oats, and decided to make a little pun. These girls are from playing cards from the 1950s. That might say something, I'm not sure. This piece, can't remember where I got this doll, probably flea market, and powerful piece just in itself, just because it's probably, again, probably 1850 or maybe older, and looks like it might have been made out of a bed post or piece of furniture, which some father must have made for his daughter, and or little boy, whatever, and she carried her around until the arms and legs fell off from her. And these pieces, the wood I found in a burn pile on the side of the road. This old doll I found in a box in an old house, and it was with another doll, and the mice had eaten a hole in it. Somebody repaired it with probably pitch. It's just amazing. I mean, we take all modern toys and stuff for granted, but this is probably the only toy that this little girl had. You know, it had obviously fallen off and they fixed it. This wire I found in an old dump and next to a cemetery. Somebody suggested that it was part of a wreath that they hung on a gravestone, which kind of works with the piece, I guess. And I called it the screen after seeing had a very nice talk about Monk, the painter, Scream, and it inspired me to make this piece. And I don't know if you're aware of that painting, but you know, the hands are up next to the face, and so I toyed around with doing that, but it seemed more powerful just to let them hang there. And I was looking at it, and something still looks off. So I thought maybe they had two right hands or something. And when I looked at it more closely, when the arms fell off, somebody fixed it, but they put the arms on backwards. So I don't know if when you look at it, there's something that's not right, but you don't necessarily pick it up. In these pieces, the wood came out of an old house as part of a cupboard. And this shoe, I call it lost and found in Bridgewater. My friend actually found the shoe on Route 4, or next to Route 4 on his lawn in Bridgewater. So how it got there, I don't know. So I decided to use it at least.
Dave, I can't tell from here, but it looks like it's covered with newspaper.
Yep.
So did you find it that way, or did you do that?
Yeah, I did that. These are old tabloids again. Somehow that relates to the sticker shoe, maybe.
Maybe you have a similar piece on your website. Is there a difference, or did you redo that?
Yeah, I redid it. Yeah.
That's all I had.
This piece, I had this old sign kicking around for a long time, and I never really knew what to do with it. And again, this is just something where things went together. I was able to see things more easily, and what I didn't like about this sign before was that to make it work, I would have to cut it down and lose some of the writing. But what occurred to me was that that's important to do that because it makes those two words important and this less important. But somebody suggested that it actually looks like a danger, oversized dad falling, which kind of works. So, and that's an actual shoe. That's something we wore.
Dave, can you explain what's behind the shoes?
This is from an old measuring tape that I applied to the box, just again to give significance to the size of the shoe. Pretty simple, I guess.
Did you find only one shoe or did you find two?
Yeah, just one shoe, unfortunately. There's more over there, but I don't know how to get it.
Question about the mousetrap one?
Yep,
I noticed that they're all set.
yep.
Are they epoxy?
I soldered all those.
Okay, so you can't touch it and lose your finger.
Well, you probably could. Actually, the guy who bought that says, you gotta make one so it's ready to go off. You don't know which one, which is a good idea. So I guess that's about it.
Dave, I want to thank you so much. Maybe there will be some more questions, but I just wanted to, you already know that. You donated another beautiful piece to the silent auction this year. So the room is filled with mousetraps, covered in mousetraps. So one of our supporters bought that and donated it back to AVA. So we have it now in our children's studio. And we placed it in there last Saturday. 10 minutes. And I saw one of the numbers sitting there, mesmerized by it, meaning it was a beautiful pencil drawing and being totally inspired by it. Well, I am of course concerned that this is top one. My kids, so you may have been doing there to do something. And if you have occasional